Welcome to WikiAfrica Hour, a monthly live broadcast where Africa's Wikimedians talk to, learn from, and explore topics related to the Wikimedia movement in Africa. Wiki in Africa brings each session to you, created by and for African Wikimedians to expand Africa's open movement. Today's guest host is Tochi Precious Friday from Nigeria. Netha is our newsreader.
Thank you. Hi everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or whatever part of the world you're in. I'm greeting you in that should I say the time of whatever part of the world you're in. So thank you and welcome to the Wiki Africa Hour episode 34. Today is the special edition. We're going to be celebrating every woman in every part of the world, especially the Wiki women, the people who make it happen in the Wiki movement. So today we're going to be having today's episodes in three segments. So the first segment is going to be talking about historical context, providing the context behind the movement, how these women have been working, how, the gender issues, and every other thing you need to know. And then the second part of the segment is going to be bringing the Wiki women who went to the camp in 2023. They actually went to Delhi and they're going to be sharing their various experiences. And the third part of this segment is going to be on the Wiki Women's collective announcement. So stay tuned and listen to us. I promise you, you're totally going to enjoy it. So here we're going to be going into the first segment. But before then, we'll go to the Wiki Africa Hour news of the day, and Noni is going to be giving us the news of the day. So just stay in because there's a lot of exciting content for you to see. All right. I think we're encountering some sound issues with the news, but we can have that after. So, for this first segment, like I mentioned, we're going to be having the history and the context behind the movement. So, I'm going to be bringing Florence and Tila. They are very well grounded ladies who have been very much behind the scene in everything gender diversity in the movement. Hello, Chila. Hi, Florence.
Hello, Tushi. Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you, Tochi.
thank you for your time, and it's great to have you. Okay, so if you're ready, I'm ready. But first of all, we're going to start with a brief introduction. So you're going to tell me your name. I know your name, but I'm sure probably a lot of our guests do not actually know your name. So you just tell me your name, where you're joining us from, and what your current involvement in the Wikimedia gender space is. Just in a minute. Maybe we'll start with Florence.
Okay, so I'm Florence Devouard. My username is Anter. I am joining today from Marseille. This is in France. And I would say my main involvement in the gender space is with the project Wiki Loves Women.
Nice. Thank you. Chila, is it the same thing with you?
Thank you so much, Tochi. Hi, everyone. First of all, let me say that I've been following Wiki in Africa and Wiki Loves Women work for some time now. So it's a true pleasure for me to be here today with you. And also because it's an honor to share this space with so many talented Wikimedians, gender organizers, and feminists that are going to be here today. I'm Tila Cappelletto. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a Brazilian Wikimedian, volunteer in the movement since 2015, mainly focused on the gender gap work. And I'm part of the Wikimedia Foundation team since 2021. And today I'm calling in from Lisbon, where I'm based.
Thank you
Looks
so
like
much,
it's a
Chila.
chilly time in Lisbon, just as in Marseille, same thing.
Yeah, it's very hot here where I am. As you can see, my face is so oily and shiny. Okay, so we'll start with you, Florence. So we're going to be discussing, like I said, we're going to be discussing the context and the history behind gender diversity in the movement. So, Florence, I'm going to start with you. Why is gender such an issue in the movement? What really happened? How did we get here?
How did we get here? So maybe I can give you some little historical elements. So first, just a reminder for everyone: Wikipedia started in 2001, so we have been around for 22 years. And the news is there's nothing new. We knew from the start, even when we had never met, we already knew that there was something a little bit weird, but we had no measure at first. We didn't really know. We just knew that there were not so many women around, but no measure. So the first thing I could track from history is actually a page I started, and I want to share that screen to show you. This is something that started back in 2003. So it was 2 years after inception that we had a situation where I started a page which is called List of Wiki Women. And if you look back there, we are back in May 2003, and I decided to start a list so that we could start having a feeling of what was going on. But then things when nothing really happened except for the second big moment was back in 2007, which was many years later. We had Wikimania in Taipei at that time. And for the first time, we decided to have the first Wiki Loves Women lunch. It was, the Wiki Women lunch. And at that time, it was called the Wiki Chicks meeting, which is a bit weird when we consider things nowadays. But that was the very first meeting. And at that meeting, we were only about, I would say, 12 women. That was it. That was the very first Wiki Women lunch. And it's only back in around 2022 that we started really talking about what we could do. And the tipping point was a study, which is called the You Merit Study. It was done in 2010. And that was the first relevant study that tried to actually understand better who the Wikipedians were. So it was a survey, and of course it was by volunteer participation. We asked people about their age, their gender, and so on. And that's the first place where we could actually get some initial figures about gender participation. And we could see at the time it was less than 20%. Whatever the cohort, whatever the geography, we were less than 20% participation, female participation. And this is when we really decided to start working on this, to start trying to measure first what was going on, what we wanted to do. And to give you just an insight of why it could be a problem that so few women were participating, it's the impact it can have on the content. So many studies followed this very first study back in 2010. And one of the study was actually, or several of the study were actually made by one of our participants in the next session, Netha. And essentially we could analyze that there are 4 big type of gaps of consequences maybe to this gender gap. The first consequence is what we call a coverage bias. So it's simply having less articles related to women than about men. And for example, maybe the notability requirements might be slightly higher for women than men to be included in the encyclopedia, or we could have difficulties identifying some good references to talk about women. So that's the first bias we observed, the coverage bias. The second big bias we could observe is what we call the structural bias. The structural bias is typically when there are more hyperlinks for articles about men. They are more centrally located in topics than women. So people have less chance to find them somehow. That's the structural bias. There's a third bias, and that's what we call the lexical bias. That's one of my favorite, actually. It's the article about women exist, just as article about men exist. But for example, if you look at biographies, what is being discussed, the information that is being provided is slightly different. For example, there might be more information about wedding, about marriage, about sex, about number of children in the article about women, whilst in the article about men, you will find more information about their professional life. So that's the second thing. The third, the lexical bias. And there's the last bias is the visibility bias, which actually is not so important, but typically it might be selection procedures for featured articles by the Wikimedia community. That's another bias. So these were the four types of bias we could identify. And pretty obviously, many researchers targeted also, why do we have less women participating than men? So we fine-tuned the figures, and it was something between 10% to 20%, depending on linguistic communities. So we worked a lot on why do we have less women than men. And what happened is all this research was very important in the between 2010 to 2015. It's less important today. But back in 2010, we did two things. The first thing is the executive director of Wikimedia Foundation at that time, back in 2010, was Sue Gardner. And Sue Gardner decided to make it an important thing to work on at the Wikimedia Foundation level. So there was a little bit of funding. We decided to somehow capture the low-hanging fruits. What could we do to improve the situation? So there were tools and so on. And the second big thing is that we started a whole bunch of initiatives, and you probably know many of those by name at least, like the Wiki Donate, the Wiki Loves Women, the Women in Red, of course, Les Sans Pages in the French sphere. So all those things were some of the elements that started the whole network. That's a very rough outline of the situation.
That's I don't know, I would say it's a whole lot of history, context, and behind the scene efforts. Thank you. I think I loved the Wiki Chicks so much more. Maybe we can try that in the future.
Yeah.
But one thing I know about this is that it actually it actually inspired our first project in the Igbo Wikimedia Usergroup, which was the Igbo WikiWomen. And Tila, how about you? Was it the same for you as well?
Thank you. It was so good. It was so good to hear to Florence speaking about the history. I have great appreciation for all the work she has been doing in the movement. Like I feel, I just got here because I joined the movement in 2015, and then she tells all this history that's so much older, and it's so important for us to recognize who we are, where we're coming from. So I feel again thankful, and I mean I've heard this before, but now I'm here with you, Florence. So I'd like to acknowledge that it's I feel very lucky. I think, and if you allow me, I was thinking here, about the way we look at the movement and how things have changed or not. I think I'd like to share with you. I'm going to share the link, and then if you can share with the public audience. This is the Community Insights survey that is done by the Wikimedia Foundation, and there are some good news, I would say, that come from this report in the stats that we have regarding content and participation. So, for example, we know that between 2019 and 2022, the proportion of gender diverse active editors has doubled. Or we know also that newcomers are more likely to identify as women, as well as people from a gender diversity identity. And also, there is this data that there is this Wikimedian, Evelyn from Uruguay, she always shares this, and like, because I think this is an important perspective that we should have, is that organizers in this movement, they are more likely to identify as women as well. So we often talk about the content or the biographies in the project, and there is a real disparity there in terms of content and participation on editors or contributors, but there are other ways also of contributing. So I think this stat, which is around 35% of organizers self-identify as women, and they are more likely organizers to self-identify as women. I think this is very exciting. No, I think it's good news, and I think we can see that in the movement. No, we see women like taking space and doing amazing work. So I think it's also good to recognize, even if sometimes we don't see so much like a change in the contributors stats for women. For us, I think it's good also to not for us to keep doing the good work and not give up, because sometimes we know it's a hard work, and so looking at these numbers, I think can take us into to a more hopeful horizon, I think.
I would back up that entirely and notice that since the start, women have not been missing at the governance level. We had, except for the temporary first ED, we only had women as ED of Wikimedia Foundation. Many of the chapters and user group are actually led by women. So we have not been missing at the organizing level. It's more like at the contributing level, which is complicated.
Oh, yeah, that's very important. Thank you so much, Ayla. Thank you so much, Florence. And thank you, Tila, as well. That's really very insightful. I'll come back to you, Florence. Why do you think all of this we're trying to do is very important? Everyone, you both are trying as much as possible to make sure that women are represented, both in terms of contributors and in terms of articles. Why is this really important to us?
Well, I think I already touched a little bit the problem. It's pleasant to have an atmosphere where there are women. If you arrive in a group where you have only men, it's for many women, it's not very comfortable. So first, if we don't have a significant number of women contributors, we might shoot ourselves in the foot just because we think we are not welcome here. So it's important to have enough and to show enough, even in local events. When we are face to face, same thing. We need to make sure that during the local events, there are enough women so that new women contributors feel comfortable. So that's the first thing at the participation level. Then at the contributing level, women and allies, men allies, they can help us fight these different type of bias, such as coverage bias, visibility bias, structural and lexical biases, so that the content we build up is something reflecting the entire of humanity and not only something with a sort of a male gaze, male impacted content. So that's why we need the women first to feel fine, to feel happy together doing something, and then to serve our mission, which is knowledge for everyone. So those are the two elements. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's actually very absurd when you get to maybe let's say an editathon and you see just men. It's really not so encouraging. Thank you, Florence. Chila, how about you? I mean, the work you've been doing in terms of gender diversity, why is it important? Why are you doing this for us?
Yeah, I think I agree with Florence 100%. And actually, research shows that, right? That for women and non-binary people, it's so important to have like peer support, like to join through an event, like to make sure that people find like a welcoming environment, because sometimes we know that on Wiki, because we're behind the screen, it's harder. And we know that women, they have less time, so it's harder maybe to contribute. So having this peer support and making sure that there are other people in the movement like us, it's important, like to assure that people are going to be able to to keep contributing. We have the experience that often women come and then they contribute, but then they do not continue. So I think this peer support is definitely important. So for me, particularly, I think that the participation aspect is the most difficult one to change in the sense, like this gap we have, but I think it's the most important one as well. And also then the content. So I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself with what Florence said, but I think this is good because it means that we all agree, like we're working towards the same goals. Like we want to increase the participation of these people that were left behind. Let's say they are not present, they are not represented, as well as the content, because the content, the knowledge, they come with the people, right? So we need these people to be writing the content and sharing the content as well.
Thank you. I totally agree with you. In my user group, we are actually mostly women, and it's been easier for a lady to drag in another woman dragging another woman, and because of that, we have so many women contributors in the Igbo community. So I totally agree that there is this kind of moral support, and it actually just gives to other women. Thank you so much for all of the insights. Now, I know this must have been mentioned before.
Let me go back about what you're saying just right now, Tochi, because there is an important historical point about this. The first elements that were being done back in 2010 or so, there was a WikiChicks mailing list that was created, and there was a big discussion of whether this should be strictly limited to women. And the first environment set up to function were only limited to women. And thank God, very quickly, most, if not all, the user group moved away from that and admitted that the issue was not something that should be solved only by women, but needed to be solved collectively. So all the men and the gender, any gender is welcome to actually work on that problem. And we don't have only women working on that problem. So that's absolutely very important. And I want to simply insist on this. Just, yeah.
Thank you for reminding us of that. It's actually very important, and it's also good to note that it's not just women who are working to close this gender gap. Thank you so much. So I know this must have been mentioned before, just like I said, but I will start with you again, Florence. What has been done so far to close the gaps? I know you must have mentioned it previously, but for the sake of people who are joining us or who might join late, we really want to pinpoint this. What has been done so far to close these gaps?
Yeah, so let me share with you again my screen about what happened. I would like first to mention that in the 2015, when people started many initiatives, many pages on Meta were created about all these initiatives, and sometimes it was a little bit hard to see what was going on because there were so many of them and some died since then. So a few years back, I decided to create a brand new portal on Meta where we could actually at least summarize the most important elements and make it easier for people to find elements. And if you look at this gender gap portal, which I completely invite you to update whenever you feel like it, and all of you can do it, there is a bunch of tabs with information, and one of them is actually listing groups and is listing initiative, with the understanding that some groups may have several initiatives and some initiative may actually belong to several groups. So let me give you a very brief look at this. So in the group area, we listed some of the main groups that are currently working. So you might find again Les Sans-Pages, more in the French space, the Wiki Loves Women, more in the African space. There's Afro Crowd, more North America, but not only. The Art and Feminism User Group, which is still very super active. And there's the LGBT plus group working on all these topics and so on. So I don't know if all of them are listed here, but I invite you to have a look and consider whether there's some missing, some you might join, and all of them have different cultures and different goals. So that's the main thing. And all these groups collectively have worked on initiative. And some of there are differences, and that's important to acknowledge. Some initiatives were purely about creating content, so editathons, calls, and so on. A very famous one, which has run during several years, is the WikiGap initiative, and some people are still running some local Wikigaps initiatives still yet now, even though the bigger one seems to have disappeared. Women in Red and its association, Women in Green, are working a lot on content as well. So they are very purely on Wikipedia itself. But others have different goals. The art and feminism is a big one. And there are some initiatives that only lasted 1 year or less. So mostly it's about training people, recruitment of women, training of women, coaching women, such as what we do in Wiki Loves Women, so that people feel stronger. Les Sans Pages is doing a lot of recruitment, for example. There's the big area around content itself, creation of content improvement. So there are initiatives on Wikidata, some initiative on Wikipedia, some on Wikiquote that we do with She Said at the end of the year. And there's a lot on Wikidata as well for those willing to work on Wikidata. So lots of stuff being done around content. And then there are other initiatives of just trying to work on the reason why it's so difficult for women to come, to feel fine, to stick around. So those are all the people working on, in particular, trying to make sure that we have a code of conduct, a safe space. So all the initiative and this working environment, collective environment that we have is a whole entirely new, different direction. Then there are groups that have focused a lot on research and trying to measure, analyze, provide tools that we could better identify the gaps. It's a big area of work as well. And the last one I would mention is all the people who have been working to organize some face-to-face event where we will talk about these things, where we will share experience. So those are the different type. Again, recruitment, training, creation, and improvement, research, analysis, tools around all these topics, events, trying to organize WikiCamp or WikiWomen Camp that we can further discuss, and all the people working on this question around how to provide a safe environment. So if you look at this portal, you will find many of these initiatives and you can dig a little bit more in the information.
That's really a lot. I mean, I think one of my favorites in all of those is the Wiki quotes, the She Said campaign. I really do love the She Said campaign. Okay,
Yes.
Chila, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I do, may I? Yeah, I get inspired by Florence, and then I start checking on links that I want to share and things that I want to say. We can be here the
You
whole
have
day.
stuff to add, definitely.
Yeah, or the whole month. You know, I feel like, okay, let's be here for the whole month, right? It's our month. No, we're not going to do this to the audience. I'm going to try to
Yeah,
be,
right.
straight to the point. So as Florence was speaking, and she mentioned, for example, the WikiWomen Camp, and you're going to have more time to hear about it later. I was thinking, no, besides like the portal is so important because we work from different places across the world, async oftentimes. So it's important to have the central space for us to organize ourselves as gender organizers, no? But then I was also remembering about what happened recently, and I posted a link on the chat regarding the Wikimania last year, that there was the first WikiWomen Summit. We could, and Florence mentioned before, like the lunch, the WikiWomen lunch, right? So as part of this was one of the activities, let's say, of the WikiWomen Summit. It was an initiative from the movement supported by the Wikimedia Foundation that happened last year. I think that people really enjoyed it. We did a survey after this, but we definitely, I mean, it was the first experiment on this. And we are hoping that this can take place every year, taking advantage that we have Wikimania every year. So to have a space where we can gather like women and non-binary people to discuss a strategy and discuss all these things that we may include in the portal, for example, the gender gap, but then we are live in person working together. No? So this is one thing. And the other thing that I would like to add, I hope this is the right moment to say, is that the Celebrate Women campaign, which is also Florence's initiative, right? I don't know if you're going to mention it later or if I should go ahead, Florence.
I don't know if it's my initiative. That's more complicated than this.
you can correct me, please.
Yeah, that's a mixed thing. So
Okay.
to give a little bit of info, what happened is that we became numerous doing things, and all of us wanted to have a side notice in March to talk about our thing. And Ciel, who is one of the side notice admin, she got, it's too much. It's impossible. I cannot have 15 banners on different spaces talking about the same thing. It's impossible. So we came with the idea of adding a new tab on the gender gap portal document so that we would together pile up all the initiative happening in March, and then the side notice would only lead to this unique page. So that was done. I can't. Can you help me put it
Like 2
online?
years ago, more or less, or
Yeah,
2 years ago.
I think it's probably the third year we're doing this.
Yeah.
I can't display
Probably.
my screen. Why is it not appearing? Yeah, here we are. So we called it on purpose, Celebrate Women, because North America rather wanted to talk about history, Women History Month, and we were more on the women rights. So we found this, middle part that where we would agree, and then we decided to have to mention all the initiative happening in the online or in the different geographical region. So for face-to-face events, and ask people to add them in this big table. So that's something that was initially proposed by Ciel, and we worked on it together. And every year we try to improve it a bit more so that it's easier to read and find. And the side notice during the entire month of March will display those things. So if you have events that you want to share, please add them here. We have our current events somewhere here. We are here. But there are many other events in different languages, in different regions. And that's what we thought would be the best way to show our collective effort in that area. Yeah.
That was great. Sometimes I'm sorry, Tochi. I was just gonna say that that's what I wanted to share, but now I don't need to share. And it was
You can go in detail now. You can enter in detail.
Yeah, I can add just 2 or 3 things. Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Because we have been working closely. That was just going to say that we have been from the Wikimedia Foundation trying to back up this work that was actually initiated by them, by Florence and Tila in this conversation like 2-3 years ago. So from the foundation, we have been trying to help support with the update of the page and also organizing conversation hours to bring the movement together in order to have this call to action to people that Florence just did, which is please bring in your events. Like we're nothing if we don't have this global organization in one place for people to be able to join us, right? Like it'd be super difficult. It is such a decentralized movement, which is amazing. But then for people getting into the movement, it's good that they can find the information with one click. So now we have the site banner, like the central notice banner, taking people to this page. And we definitely wanted to invite you to add your event there. And also to share that during these conversation hours that we do previously before the Celebrate Women campaign, launch, because it was on March, it is throughout the months, So it's events happening from March 1st to the last day of March. And on this year, we did the conversation hour on February 19th, I think. And this was also a space for us to share what we're doing, also to learn about others' work, and to share, for example, tech or product news. For example, the event registration tool that organizers can now use. We took advantage of this space to talk about the Celebrate campaign and offer organizers tools that are going to help them improve or ease their work, the burden of their work. The tool is connected to the P&E dashboard, so it's easy to track like the contributions. And with the event registration tool, you can also see the list of participants and even like demographics, data on demographics from the participants. So this is also helpful for us to understand who is joining us, from where, and other things. Oh, and also one thing that I'd like to mention regarding the Celebrate Women, we here have also resources, just kind of the gender gap portal, but resources that can help people really like newcomers getting into the page that want to contribute. And there is, I think, Art and Feminism, they added a resource that is linked to something that Florence mentioned earlier, which was like the interconnected links, wiki links, how important that is for us to have wiki links. So in the resources page of the Celebrate Women, you can also find that document. It's a module training on WikiLinks, and it's fantastic. It's super useful. And finally, if you let me, there's one other thing, since we're talking about campaigns, that I would like to add. And I think this is the most exciting thing, which is the Celebrate Women page is an effort from the movement. We are there showcasing the work all the gender organizers do. And this year, the communications team at the Wikimedia Foundation, they just launched today the Wikipedia Needs More Women campaign, awareness campaign. I don't know if you saw this already. It is a campaign. Okay, I shared the link earlier. I don't know if you can share with the audience, because it's live already. It started this morning, and it's a campaign targets on users and readers, young adults aged 24 to 35 years old, with a focus on women. There is paid media campaign, owned and earned media, and everyone can access this campaign. But it's focusing, especially the paid media, is focusing on the sub-Saharan African region, primarily Nigeria. So please, Tochi, tells us if you see it, if it makes sense, because you're there in India, our friends from India as well. It will be running throughout the month, and the hashtag for this campaign is Change the Stats. But I think that the most important thing of this campaign is that this campaign is leading people to the Celebrate Women page. And why is that important? Because we know that if we're doing a campaign, awareness campaign, like talking to people, external audiences, readers, to take them to the movement and share like the stats and why is it important to discuss the gender gap and work on the gender gap, it's even more important for people to get to know the events that are happening, because these people are arriving there, they're going to need the events that you are organizing. So this year, the page, like the campaign, is taking people to the Celebrate Women. So I think it's like a win-win. It's a good example of collaboration, right? And let me see if I have anything left. Yeah, that's it. No, that's all for me.
I mean, that is just a whole lot. I mean, that's so cool. So, if you're wondering what's happening, if your community is not hosting anything, you can always go to the Celebrate Women page, find something, and contribute to it. That's really so cool. Thank you. I mean, with all of these events going on, all the edits, in various projects, and so much more, where are we now, Florence? Where do you see us? Where are we at the moment?
Well, we're on the 8th of March, where we are. We have 3 weeks to finish everything. No, it's an ongoing thing. I mean, now 10 years down the line, we can only see that, for example, the percentage of women participants has not changed massively. In spite of us trying over and over again, it doesn't make a big difference. So I don't know. So let's focus on what we have and be happy with it. And then we can work more on the content. We can work more on the friendly environment. And I would like to just make a little note about this before we move to the next section. I'm French initially, I'm still French. We have lots of problem in the French environment. For example, the environment is quite difficult and painful on Wikipedia at the moment. Lots of anxiety, anger, aggressivity. It's beyond microaggression, it's aggression. And we still have a lot of work on this matter, and definitely trying to explain things more, to facilitate conversations. Probably need the help of the Wikimedia Foundation as well to maybe make some statement to help. So we can't really seem to do anything on recruitment, but we can definitely continue working on this friendly space environment is a big thing. Big topic. Then in terms of content, honestly, it's an ongoing work. I think we are doing good. We just need to continue what we are doing and it shall be okay. Yeah.
Thank you. I like that. We're actually doing good. That's really so cool to hear. But my last question to this will go to Chila is how important is it for us to come together and collaborate for all these initiatives? Who are the people who can get involved? Where do you think we can find them? All of that.
Well, I think that anyone can contribute, no? And I would like to go back to this idea that even if it seems that the contributors number has not changed a lot, which is true, I think that we should look at the organizers' number and see that we are growing in numbers, and even with the difficulties that we have or the barriers. And I think that Florence mentioned well regarding like having safe environments. And then I remembered about something, which is there is an open call for candidates right now, and I was trying to find the link, but I couldn't, for the U4C, which is going to be the committee that is going to be responsible for an equitable implementation of the UCOC. So this is rather a very important moment for women to step in and maybe consider joining this committee. We know that it's difficult, or like women have less time to volunteer. But for example, taking space in these places of governance, especially the ones related to the UCOC, is so important for us to make sure that women can stay. Because as Florence said, no, like we know that women, you said, Tochi, women are coming, we drag women, right, to the movement.
Yes,
we drag
yes.
people. But then how can they stay? So maybe we need also to improve other things, like in governance spaces, and making sure that this is a safe environment for people to stay, and that it is easy to contribute, and that there are many ways to contribute, no, not only editing, which is super important, because we are Wikimedia projects, we have contents, right? So this is very important, but that there are other ways as well to contribute. So I don't know if I answered your question with this, and I'm going to search for the call for candidates, because I think it's a good opportunity for us.
Thank you. That would be so great. And we'll share it amongst so many women as possible. We need to be there. Thank you so much, Tila. Florence, do you have any final things to say? Any final thing to add?
No, we're good. We have plenty of people behind that I want to hear about, and everybody should hear about them. So they need the face.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tila. Thank you, Florence. I told you that it was going to be like an amazing session today, and you were going to enjoy it. So we're going to be moving to the next segment. Thank you, Tila. Thank you all. Okay. And I'm hoping you don't have any appointments. Please, if you have, just cancel it. We have so much more. Thank you for staying with us to the end of the first one. So we're going to move to the next one. And like I mentioned, the second segment has to do with the WikiWomen Camp 2023 that took place in Delhi. We'll start with a video of 3 women, including myself, from the WikiWomen Camp 2023. This camp, over 70 women and non-binary people from all over the world came together to discuss gender diversity in the Wikimedia movement. I mean, the welcoming community, the experience sharing, it was just too awesome. So I'm going to leave you to take a look at the video so you can judge it yourself. Oh, mine have said it was 93 women, including speakers and partners. That was so amazing. Okay. I think this sound thing is just killing my video vibes today, but don't worry, just stay on. Okay, we're still here, but I'm sure you saw some of the graphics. While we're trying to get the sound on, the graphics were just so awesome. The presentation slides, the decoration, the
This is
sound,
something that we have been planning for
the
last 2
dance.
years and coming to realization now.
To see so many of us that have shared experiences, it's just great. It feels safe, it feels warm.
A happy, warm welcome to you all to the WikiWomen Camp 2023. there's a lot of intentionality around mapping. And I think oftentimes we act, right? We act quickly. And I love that addition that we're rising up, but we're doing it with intentionality.
Gender gap is something which is not only a challenge within the Wikimedia movement, it's a larger challenge. But at least within this movement, we are aware of it, we are accepting it, and we are taking measures to bridge this.
It's a lot of excitement, a lot of emotions attached, a lot of hard work, sleepless nights, a lot of coordination among people, and the nervousness at the same time because it's happening after a 6 long years gap. I even danced. I never danced, but here I already danced twice.
Wiki loves women.
Oh, okay. So you can agree with me that it was an awesome experience. I mean, the color, the fun, it was just so cool. So I'm going to invite the women who would be sharing their experiences in this session. But unfortunately, Yop wouldn't be joining us because of the network issues that just decided that it must be today. So I'll be calling up Netha and Andi.
Hello.
Yay! Hi, welcome. How is it going at your end? Hope you all are cool.
Yeah,
I'm
pretty
doing good.
good here in Brazil. Hot weather.
Well, how about you, Netha?
It's not at all hot. I live in Sweden. It was
Oh,
snowing like a week ago, but
yeah,
it's getting pleasant here, and I'm doing good as well.
that's so cool to hear. For me, it's hot here. Okay, so we'll start by introductions. So I would like the both of you, each one at a time, to please tell me your name, where you're joining us from, and your Wikimedia affiliation, just in 1 minute. Andy, would you like to start?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Tochi. It's an honor to be here with this amazing Wiki Women and to hear Tila speaking earlier and also Florence. Hello, everyone. I'm Andi Inacio. I'm from Brazil, and my native language is Brazilian Portuguese. I joined the Wikimedia movement around Wikipedia's 20th anniversary in 2021. And since then, I've been part of initiatives related to the research and the bridge work of the gender gap. For example, I led a recent research connected to the movement strategy implementation regarding the experience of Portuguese-speaking Wiki women. And I'm also one of the organizers of the Wiki Project Women in Red on the Portuguese Wikipedia. And voluntarily, I'm a member of the informal user group Wiki Mulheres Mais. It's good to be here. Thank you.
That's so cool. Good to have you. Hi, Neta.
Hi, my name is Netha Hussain. I live in Sweden, but I'm originally from India. My mother tongue is Malayalam language, which is a language spoken in the south of India. Currently, I live in Sweden because of my job and professional commitments. I was at WikiWomen Camp in New Delhi. It is my home country, of course, and I was so excited to come back for the weather, for the people, and also for the fun that happened over there. I will be talking about it more during the subsequent questions. So happy to be here.
All right, thank you. It's good to have you too. I'll start with you, Andy. Why did you attend the camp? Like, how did your attendance impact your participation? What was the first thing that told you, okay, I need to apply for this?
Yeah, well, I've been around the Lusophone movement, and little by little, I started getting to know the global movement. But I was missing this gender related space where I could get to know other voices and perspectives from Wiki Women. So when I heard that there would be a Wiki Women Camp and in India, well, me and my comrades from Wiki Mulheres Mais, we were super excited to go. Hoping not only to exchange experience, but to help design a global governance for the Wiki Women global movement. and to bring our perspective, not only the Lusophone, the Portuguese-speaking perspective, but also a Global South intersectional feminist perspective to the table. So it was like a moment of super excitement, and I managed to go. It was like this incredible experience.
Nice. That's so cool to hear. But your attendance, did it in any way impact that your participation in the movement?
Yeah, I was very involved with the movement before going to the camp, but attending to the camp definitely helped me to enlarge my network. Not only my network, but my group's network, right? Because I got to know these dozens of amazing, incredible Wiki women, and also to think about the similarities of our work. So we are different women from different countries, from different languages, leading different activities in different spaces. So it was this amazing space where I could get in touch with all this diversity. And also to think about the differences between these movements, and on alternatives on how to build bridges between us. So this really impacted me, my Wikimedian path in this way.
That's really very important to build bridges. Thank you. Netha, I know, like you mentioned, that it was organized in your home country. How did you feel to have the WikiWomen Camp in India? Like, were you so nervous? Were you so excited? No, tell us about it.
Excited as always. I would start with some history. The first WikiWomen Camp happened in 2012 in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And at that time, I was 20 years old. And I think I was probably the youngest participant attending that camp. And that was my first international Wikimedia conference. I was so nervous to attend the camp because I knew that everybody over there have been working with the movement for years and they have way more experience than I do. But the moment I landed, I understood that I was very, very welcome there. And people wanted to listen to what I had to say. And I was coming from India. And at that time, there were not very many Indian Wikimedian women. And they wanted to know about the situation happening there and what the foundation as well as other volunteers could do to help bring more women from India as well as South Asia to the Wikimedia movement. So, drawing from that experience, I co-founded the Wiki Women's Collaborative, a collaborative for networking for women in the year 2013, which then, ramified and separated into different initiatives. So, having that experience in mind, I was super excited to come to New Delhi to see how we can take this initiative forward. And then I also wanted the networking part, like Andi said, was also very important because it was COVID-19 and we couldn't meet people in person. There was no Wikimania, in-person Wikimania. Other conferences were also not happening. So to be able to meet with these wonderful women whom I have known for a very long time, catching up with their work, as well as meeting very many newcomers and understanding what they want to do, what they are already doing, and how I can help in their newer initiatives. It was very heartwarming for me, and the contacts that I have gained from there, I still keep in touch with these people, and these women have become very central part of my Wikimedia volunteering.
That must have been so beneficial to you. Oh, that's so cool to hear. But prior to the camp, what were the biggest challenges faced by women in your community? And after the camp, were you able to find any solutions to that? I heard you mention something like you still have some contacts from these women, you networked and all of that. What were the challenges you faced in your community, like as women? And then did you find any solutions to them?
My main work is research. So I study about why women contribute, why women do not contribute, what are their motivations, what are their intentions, and so forth. So I think most of this has already been covered by Florence. So I will go into the content, how the content is structured around women, and the content beyond biographies. So my background is as a medical doctor. And I often have people, patients who have not really good understanding about the health conditions that they are going through. And unfortunately, most of them are women because they do not have good access to women's health related material. especially in their own mother tongues. So I wanted, for a very long time, I wanted to change the situation, and I have been writing articles on Wikipedia. But lately, I launched this project called Wiki Project Women's Health, where where the main goal of the project is to find and bridge the knowledge gaps related to women's health on Wikipedia in all languages and beyond Wikipedia in other projects as well, including Wikimedia Commons and Wikidata. And I think this is important because we have had a history of focusing very much on biographies. I understand that women's biographies are very, very important, and projects like Women in Red have been able to increase the percentage of women's biographies in English Wikipedia from 15% to 18%. And that work has been going on fantastically, not only in English, but in very many languages. And initiatives like WikiGap have aided in that process of bringing many newcomer women as well as allies to write and develop this kind of content. But on the other hand, we also have content related to women's education, feminism, women's health, and so forth, which are very important to women, but we don't have as much attention to that, probably because they are a little bit difficult to write. To write about women's health, you need to have good understanding about women's health. You need to be a researcher or a doctor or a graduate in science, for example, to be able to write with good references and reliable sources. So because there are very few people, very few experts writing on Wikipedia, like topics with, immense depth and immense material, but things that need too much clarity for, the public to understand, have not been, covered by the initiatives and campaigns that we have been doing. And this is something that I have been focusing recently on, trying to map research surrounding the knowledge gaps related to women's health and ways to bridge them.
That's actually a very important project, and it's a very good one at that. I mean, there are so many things related to women's health that people really do underrate. Thank you. I actually look forward to seeing maybe a link to the project, and then we could take a better look. Okay, Andy, I'm back for you. So I would like to ask you, how has being at the camp changed your perspective on things? I know that there were different people from different cultures. It was also a different culture. How did attending the camp change your perspective?
Yeah, in many ways, not only regarding the Wikimedia movement, but also regarding like cultural discussions. Like I'll give one example. I managed to meet this amazing woman, which happened to be from a different nationality and a different religion from that than my own. And we were roommates. So after the camp daily activities, we would be talking until late night about the cultural differences between us. So for me, it was like a big pleasure to hear her perspectives regarding not only the gender gap, not only the Wikimedia movement, but also her worldview as a whole. So the camp for me was this space where I could get in touch with many different women. We were all doing the same work related to gender gap and as experienced or newcomers Wikimedians. But at the same time, we had like these big differences in terms of culture, and we were all there bridging together our word perspectives and building collective reflection. So for me, this was like a big highlight for the camp.
That must have been so cool. I actually had a roommate as well who was totally from a different continent and a different country from mine. So yeah, I can relate to that. That's really cool. Thank you. I will come to you, Netha. What was your wow moment at the Wiki camp? I know that you've been used to a lot of people in Sweden. You've been used to a lot of people and the culture shocks in Sweden. You know a lot about the ones in India. I mean, what was your wow moment when the camp was hosted in India and you had a lot of people from different continents coming?
I think the wow movement started even before the conference, actually. We were a group of 3 people who were involved in designing the research space for the WikiWomen Camp. So a little bit experienced Wikimedians, they were into the strategy cohort, and the strategy cohort had several discussions. So research was one of the central discussions that happened there. And in this process, I, Rosie, and Nasia, we were the 3 people who were entrusted with doing all the mapping of the existing research that happened around women and Wikimedia projects. So it was such a huge task. We had to break them into chunks, and we had to meet like almost every week to be able to, fix this and, map the existing research. And once this work was over, we collected around 90 pieces of research, out of which 60 of them were peer-reviewed research. And we crunched all of them. We made short summaries for everything, and we put them into a table, and we have now published that on the WikiWomen Camp research page. So once this page was out live, that was my wow moment. I was like, wow, we did this. Yeah.
That's really so cool to hear. I'm just going to ask you, Andi, coming from Brazil and the Latin America, would you have preferred to have more language options at the camp? Would it have improved your experience if we had Portuguese interpretations and translations other than just English?
No, regarding the process to go to the camp, I think I didn't have any challenges regarding languages. And in the camp, I would see people like putting all the efforts to communicate, not only in English, but try to mix languages together. So for me, it was not a problem. But picking up on the previous question regarding the wow moment, for me, a wow moment was related to linguistic diversity. Because I was in the strategy track, as Netha mentioned, there was 2 tracks, and I was part of the strategy track. And in this space, we had women from radically different movements, different languages that came together to idealize ideas for the movement. And sometimes English, and I speak for myself, English is not enough for us to express ourselves. But I saw a whole movement, a collective movement of trying to understand the other, even if not in English. So for me, it was a beautiful moment. And as for the general activities, for me, a wow moment was when I saw many women speaking on their native language on stage. This was possible. Of course, they were being translated, of course, but to have this space where we can speak our native language is very important. And I saw this effort on WikiWomen Camp, and I hope that for other spaces where we bring women from different languages together, we more and more provide this safe space and resources for people to communicate on their native languages. So, yeah.
That's cool. So, what memory from the camp are you not going to forget? Like, which of the memories will stick with you the most?
A memory?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
what you're never going to forget from the camp?
I can't pick one, but I see a lot of small videos in my head, like from coming there and seeing Shino welcome us and getting to know each person. And not only the activities, of course, the activities, they were very intensive. We discussed a lot. We had lots of thoughts and reflections and collective thinking. But regarding memories, I see these small videos of when we danced, when we tried different foods from India, and I think the whole cultural experience is what is more lively on my head. So I would say the whole cultural experience on being on a WikiWomen Camp and in India. That is something that I hold dear, like in my memories.
That's so cool. How about you, Netha? I mean,
it's
what are you
very
never
hard to
going to
say.
forget?
It's
Yeah,
a
right.
Wikimedia conference. So at any Wikimedia conference, I'm super comfortable. There are very many familiar faces. There are many new people I want to meet. So it's always, I am at another level of my head. So it's not the usual me. It's 2x me. So who wants to do a lot of things. And when it becomes a women's camp, that's extra special because then you know that people you have been working with for a very long time are there, and you are going to see very many new things and experience very many new people's perspectives. So I don't have a single event or a single incident to share, but the whole process, right when Manav said for the first time that there will be a WikiWomen camp in India, I was so excited. And ever since, even after the camp, there was work. We had to write up our summaries and everything. So everything from the beginning to the end, and I don't think it has ended yet. There is still much more work to do. So the whole process, which is still ongoing, I would say, has been very, very worthwhile.
Yeah, I think what for me too, there were just a lot, but what I'm not sure I'm going to forget in a hurry was just that, like, a whole group of women from different races, different continents, countries, and we're all just working together. No arguments. I mean, like, we're trying to achieve one particular cause, and that was just so cool for me. All right, so I'm going to ask one more question. Now we've told me about your experiences, your wow moments, what is going to stick with you the most. Have you been able to share any of these experiences with other people that were unable to make it to the camp? Andi, I'll start with you. Were you able to share yours?
Yes, even before I went, I planned with my comrades from Wikimulheres Mais that we would connect, like we connect early, like before I went, and we talked about the camp. So I had in my mind that I had to go as a representative of my group. And we planned to connect online on the way back. So when we came back, each meeting that I have with them, I share a little bit because I always feel that one meeting is never enough for me to talk about the WikiWomen Camp. Is something that you have to do on many occasions to report the activities because it was this big event. And we talked about having a full session about it when we're gonna have assembly, a gathering in May this year. So we agreed that we would have a full session regarding this, not only regarding the activities, but more importantly, for us to reflect upon the questions that resulted from the camp. So to think about WikiWomen Camp outcomes from our perspective as Portuguese-speaking women, as Global South women, and to try to make this conversation live until the next time when we meet with other women again, maybe on Wikimania, on Women's Summit.
Netha, I'm not sure I'm going to ask you that because I saw your very beautiful blog post that everyone has been quoting. So I'm going to ask you something else. Envisioning the future, let's take a look at the future now. What tangible goals do you foresee?
Yeah, like I mentioned in the blog post that you told about, our future depends upon the stories that we tell today. So what we tell today, it becomes the reality. So I think it was important for women to come together and tell stories. Stories, I would mean, changes in policies. It could be difference in how we would change the practices that we are following until now, and what would be our strategies, how would we change them, and so forth. And I think Wikimedia is going to be incredibly important in future, and that's perhaps also because of the artificial intelligence and the new advancements that's happening in technology. Because all these new technology needs a backbone of real good data, and Wikimedia and its sister projects are the healthy spaces on the internet which is supposed to, back up all these new technological changes, including not only text-based systems, but also related to images and data. We have Wikimedia Commons and Wikidata as well. So I think when it comes to the future, it becomes incredibly important that Wikipedia contains women's perspectives, and Wikipedia does not exclude narratives related to women and non-binary people. And also Wikimedia does not sideline feminism. So the WikiWomen Camp was a space to make people refresh and think, and once again regurgitate that this is important. I mean, to have the feminist perspective, to view everything through the feminist lens, and to have the feminist perspective in the whole of Wikimedia movement is important. Although we say it several times, we have to digest it and have it as a part of our lives to be able to disseminate it in our community. So I think when people gathered at the WikiWomen Camp, one of the main things that they took away was to lay the foundation for the activities that they are going to do in future in their own communities, be it in different ways, but with the feminist goal in mind. So creating that kind of sisterhood and making sure, and everybody finding out what they have to do in their own community after the camp, I think was the best futuristic thing that the camp did for all of us.
Thank you so much, Netha. I'm just going to take that home. Our future depends on the stories we build today. That's absolutely awesome. Andi, do you have any final words?
No, I just want to thank the invitation, and I'm very honored to be here and to be able to share a little bit of how our collective experience was on WikiWomen Camp. We had this diff post, I think that we can share on the public chat, where some of the stories that were told and built together there are available for people that are curious to get to know better the outcomes of WikiWomen Camp 2023. It was an amazing experience, and it was very good to relive that moment again today here with you guys on this 8th of March, an important day for all of us and for our movement. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ladies. That was a very beautiful one. Thank you. I was actually avoiding to say I told you so, but I actually told you guys so that this was going to be awesome. And you see, it's been so cool so far. So permit me to say I told you so. We're going to be moving on to the third segment, and this is our final segment for today's episode and today's edition. So for this final segment, we're going to be talking about the WikiWomen's collective announcement. So we want to find out from Manav and Chino what it was like to organize this camp, and then to talk about the declaration, what it's all about, and who wrote it. So I'm going to welcome Chino, and I'm also going to welcome Manav. Hi, Manav.
Hello everyone.
Hello. Okay, Chino is you both are welcome. You're looking very beautiful this evening at my end, actually. Okay. So I know you two. I've met you before, but I'm sure most of the people watching do not know who you are. So I would start with a brief introduction, just in 1 minute, just like the others. Who are you both? Your names, your affiliation, and what we expect to hear. Okay. Start with Chinu.
That's a big task for me. Okay. So I am an engineer by profession. I work in developing softwares for robots and websites. And by profession, I am a Wikimedian. I started my Wikimedia journey in the year 2015 or maybe 16. And that time I was just 18, 19-year-old curious kid student. And later on, I met people like such wonderful leaders in the region, and I met some good friends who are still with me and encouraging me. And I'm just enjoying my Wikimedia journey. And WikiWomen Camp was not less than a dream coming true. Obviously, with a lot of teamwork and a lot of support from all the participants, all the supporters, and I'm just happy to be here at the WikiAfrica Hour.
We're glad to have you too. Okay, Manav, your turn.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Manav. I'm a Wiki woman based in India. I strongly, as Netha mentioned, I think the first time I got exposure to all these amazing Wiki women who have been working for years and endlessly, primarily supporting gender gap campaigns in different forms and formats was 2017, and ever since I've been a part of this conversation, this has been something I strongly feel associated with and I strongly feel responsible for as well. And that's why most of my engagements in the movements are derived by my strong association with feminism, my strong association with equal opportunities for everyone, and also creating spaces where we can bring more women, retain more women, and can advance this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I actually like that line. Hi everyone. I'm Manav. I'm a Wiki woman. I love that actually. Okay, so I'm going to start with you, Manav. I know that during the preparation of the conference, I reached out to you a lot. Hi, Manav, we need this later. We need this and we need that for Nigerians. So, what were your challenges like? Like, what kind of challenges did you encounter while organizing the camp? What's the experience like from an organizer's perspective?
Okay, I think ever since we started talking about the first challenge that we encountered, that me and Chinu are aware of, was COVID. So we wanted to do this in 2020. We worked extensively hard. We actually worked with everyone. We designed the budget. We finalized everything well in time. And then in the month of February, there was some news coming up about COVID. And we're like, no, this will be gone by the time we are doing the camp. It'll be in October. And then there was this lockdown, and we were told that if we want to, we should take these conversations online. But we knew, as people who have participated in discussions, that you can never actually build that kind of solidarity. You can't actually build that kind of association feeling and that kind of strong connection if you're not meeting people. I think meeting, sitting together and talking beyond your primary work and beyond your contributions on Wikipedia projects is something that connects you and helps you create a network, which then helps in creating more collaborative projects and taking the work forward, and also to create a kind of network of people who understand your journey, who understand your challenges, and are available to extend the needed support. So we decided we are not going to do it then. And when the lockdown was lifted, when the travel restrictions were lifted, there was this one day where we were talking about, should we now talk about this again? Should we revive the project? And then I think we were able to counter most of the challenges because we always had this wisdom available. There were people like Netha, Rosie, and so many other people who have been working in this movement for years, who had experience of organizing events more than us, who had experience of touching the sensitive subjects and be able to hold them well as well, to offer the respect while they are talking about difficulties as well. So I think because we had that access to the wisdom, the experience, and expertise, we are able to tackle all of that. But one of the biggest challenges that actually made me work extensively and kept me up at night was the visa challenges. I I can never justify or in words the kind of challenges that the whole team had to face to make sure that people would reach India in time and they'll receive their documents in time.
I know, right? I was just expecting you to say that. Like, if you don't mention it, I'm going to call you back. Okay. Thank you, Manav. Chindu, do you have anything to add? What was it like for you?
I actually learned a lot, and I evolved as a person, as a Wikimedian, as an individual through this process. And as very rightly Mana mentioned, it was not just a camp; it was a 3 long years of experience and learning. So we can take a full session on our learnings, the list of learnings we have. Uh, I mean, what we are sharing right now might be the top of an iceberg, but still there is more under the water. My biggest learning from this was like, you should always have a plan B, C, D, E, F, not just the plan B. Because no matter how much you prepare, no matter how well you prepare with people, something will be there which you didn't anticipate, or you think that this will not be a bigger problem going ahead. That point you will get that shock. So that was my biggest learning.
I can imagine. Okay, so let's talk about the declaration, Chinu, while I'm still here. What is it all about? Who wrote it? What is it going to achieve? We really want to know more about this declaration.
Okay, so as you can see, the declaration was one of the prime outcome that we came out with from the camp. It was a reflection of the commitment and the equity, kind of balancing the work that we are already doing and the scope we have. Also, it was meant for an encouragement for the spirit of collaboration, inclusivity, and empathy. We being the primary part of the COT and the core programming team. So we kind of decided this to be one of the primary feature, because we just didn't wanted it to be a 3 days conference where people will come and learn something and go back, and there will be no post impact, or they feel that okay, we learned something not just in terms of skills but also in terms of some broader knowledge. So that was the motto behind creating the declarations, and also to give the global community a mandate that there are certain gaps which we are probably lacking to figure it out right now, but we should put a highlight on these factors. And it was written by our very own Manav,
I
collectively
was
from the
coming to Manav.
yeah, I
I
mean,
was coming
her
to you,
choice of
Manav.
words, I mean, we the COT can blindly trust on her.
I'll elaborate on that. I think when Sheena
Yeah,
mentioned he was the one who wrote it, it was like I was the one who actually reviewed all the discussions, captured
yeah.
everything that was very beautifully captured during the sessions by the note takers, by the leads of the sessions. They were extensively captured all the information, and I think that was the baseline for me to actually be able to derive this outcome. So this, I have done the. I think it's not me in terms of the creativity and wisdom that has been invested to come up with the declaration. My involvement with the declaration has only been gathering all of that information and turning it into a document. And I think the reason why we worked on the recreation was that when we actually started conversations with some of the people who have been on the team, on the extended organizing team for the WikiWomen Camp, the one thing that kept on coming back was that every time we meet, there is a lot of alignment. We share our challenges, we share our goals, but there's a lot of energy in the room. But as soon as we leave the space, there is nothing which is planned to actually continue that engagement in future. So we lose all that energy, we lose all that excitement when we move out of that camp. And that's why the primary agenda that we had was, if we're not going to lose this, and in order to retain that kind of enthusiasm we had to take this initiative forward, in order to do that, the one common goal that we all agreed to as participants, as organizers, was that we have to come up with something which is actionable. So we did a solidarity exercise on day one to understand how we are all different yet aligned. And after building that kind of association, we were able to walk into the rooms with our own perspective and yet a lot of appreciation and understanding and empathy for the diverse experiences in the room. And that was the reason we were able to actually come up with the declaration and agree with it. We have written a blog post about it. There's a meta page about it as well. And if you'll see, the one primary recommendation in that declaration is that we are going global. We do acknowledge the fact that we didn't have all the voices in the room. And that's why it is a conscious step that we're taking forward, that this is a WikiWomen Camp declaration, not a WikiWomen declaration. And now we are taking steps forward to turn this into a WikiWomen collective declaration.
That's so nice. It was going to bring me to the next question where I was going to ask you how are people going to contribute? Is it still open to changes or inputs from the general community? And if yes, how do we have access to contribute or make our inputs?
Yeah, I've shared the link here. If someone can post that in the chat, it is for people to read. We do have a plan of action planned. The one clarity that I'd like to offer well in advance is the reason why me, Chinu, and some of the other people have been involved in this workflow, like Camellia, uh, Nitesh, and other people who have signed up for steering committee is because in order to initiate this conversation, in order to start global conversation, in order to start the review process, we needed a team to work on this. And that's why I think the only workable scenario for us was to start these discussions with the COT and organizers of WikiWomen Camp, asking them if they were willing to work on this and sign up to be on the steering committee. And once we have those names, we have been working with them to design the path forward. I'm sharing a link here in the chat. Please feel free to publish this. This is the Wiki Women Collective page. This has only high level information about what we intend to do. This has two segments in regards to engagement, which is expected now. So we are planning to take the declaration global. That means we have published a meta page. There will be a period for review and comments on this, but that does not mean that now you cannot read it or you cannot comment on it. Please feel free to read, ask questions, advise us on modifications that are required or how we can actually improve this. But there will be a formal period for review as well. And at the same time, we are also going to announce ask for nominations to be on the steering committee, because we need more people, we need more voices and perspectives in the room to create a balanced understanding of how things are and what are the priorities based on different kind of projects, different kind of regions and languages that we are all working in. And that will then be a fair representation of how we want to start global conversations and engage in the engagement plan that Netha earlier mentioned. So in the capacity cohort, the one thing that we were able to identify was the challenges that all of us face in the movement, and what are our priorities in terms of the projects that we should focus on, so that we can come together and start this as a collective movement. I'll share all the resources later. Please feel free to reach out to us for any kind of questions. There are names of the people who were involved in drafting all those extensive documents as well listed on Meta. So this is the first announcement that we are making in terms of forming a WikiWomen collective and in terms of going global with the declaration. But there is timeline which is shared on the Meta page as well in regards to when we are formally announcing which phase.
Okay, that's so cool to hear. So that is going to bring me to what was your wow moment during the conference, during the camp? What was your wow moment? We want to hear yours too.
I have one. I tell this to
Okay.
everyone. I'm sorry, Chino, I'm going to jump in because I, I think this is something that I've shared with everyone. I've been to so many Wikimedia events, but I think the one of the most surprising things that I've witnessed at WikiWomen Camp was that no one was walking out of the sessions. Literally, they were not walking out of the sessions. They were continuing those conversations in the breaks as well. Um, some for conference organizers, it's difficult to actually keep people inside the sessions. For us, it was a challenge to bring you out to eat or to have your tea breaks. There was this one time where Chinmay is like, I've actually asked every room to come out for their tea because they are going to close the counter now, so they need to come out. And she literally got the tea served inside the rooms because no one was leaving. And it was like, wow, this is something that we were all craving for. And that was truly reflected in the fact that we were continuing the conversations even after closing the formal program. And then we were in the halls doing those discussions up until like 11 p.m. at night and waking up early in the morning at 8, and then starting those conversations with the same energy every single day.
Yeah, that was so amazing, really. How about you, Chino? What was your wow moment?
Well, my wow moment I have so many wow moments actually. The day we were welcoming everyone at the registration desk, that was one of the wow moment for me first. Then when I saw participants in their traditional dresses, that was like, I mean, I was not expecting that, because October, that those dates of the camps were actually a big festive season in India. But I was not expecting the people coming from other country to be well prepared for that as well. So that was another thing. It was a lot of enjoyment. And in terms of program of the conference, as Manav very rightly said, it was point, like in some of the conferences we have seen that it's difficult to get people back to the room once they have gone out for the break, be it a tea break or just a walk. But in case of WikiWomen Camp, it was the other way around. It was, I mean, I remember the time you walked in, Tochi, and in just 5 minutes you are expected to deliver some talk.
Seriously?
And I was standing you behind, like holding the microphone.
Oh my god,
So many
that was just so funny.
No, I mean, like, there were so many people. You, Yop, I know because your flights were delayed and you were there in the
Yeah.
first beginning sessions. You stepped inside the premises of the hotel. Like, where is my session? You didn't even like think about your bag. There was no concern about where your room is, or you directly walked into the rooms, and that kind of spirit and energy is something that we really miss.
Oh my god, it was really a very cool experience, like having everyone supporting. I was so afraid because I mean I didn't really prepare so much, and then Tila is, oh teacher, no, you can do it, and everyone is like, you can do it, you can do it. It was just so amazing. Thank you. Oh, okay. So this would bring me to our very last question. I promise you, I'm not going to ask anything else, but it's just that I love gossip, and I know a lot of you must have been wondering, are you part of the next organizing committees? You just want to hear.
I can take this question. Uh,
Okay.
we are not thinking about organizing the next WikiWomen Camp because this was also one of the conversations that it takes a lot of effort to organize one camp. There were conversations about organizing satellite events. There were conversations about definitely organizing a WikiWomen Camp, but not every year. We are closely working with Kabi, who is the lead for WikiWomen Summit 2024. We are working closely with the former organizers of WikiWomen Summit 2023, which is Rosie. And we are also working closely with Masana and Tila, who's today on this call, to make sure that we are sharing the learnings that we have from the WikiWomen Camp and also the priorities that were identified during the camp. Everything that we have planned in terms of taking the declaration global and creating the WikiWomen Collective are keeping are based on a set timeline of having those firm decisions made during WikiWomen Summit, because again, that will be a place where we will all meet in person for everyone who's meeting, and you'll be able to actually take that work forward more firmly. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So I've just been smiling from ear to ear. I don't know if you have any last thing to say before we go into the question and answer segment. Last thing to say, Chino? Your last words.
Given a chance, we will love to host you back again in India. And of course, not with the visa restrictions.
That would be
And
so cool.
I'm really happy. I'm really happy to see this energy. Even like the camp got completed 5 months back, but it still feels like it's just a fresh, maybe few hours back. And
Yeah,
I just love this feeling. There are so
absolutely.
many things to continue, so many things to achieve, so many things to learn with you all, and I just love the energy around.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much, ladies. It's been so wonderful having you. So I didn't lie. I told you it was going to be a very wonderful experience. I told you so. So I'm saying it again. I told you so. So it was wonderful. I enjoyed myself. Um, think we're going to the news now, but if you have any question, you can just put it in the chat. We'll not be going into the question and answer segment, but just in case you have any question, you can just feel free to put it in the chat and we'll answer you. So, because our news didn't play, we didn't have the audio, we're going to have it back again. Hi, Nani, are you ready with our news? Okay, so it seems like the news is not flowing with us today. So sorry about that. But maybe we're going to try again, just so you hear what has been going on in the WikiAfrica movement. Can we try again, Nani? Let's just see if it will work. While we're still at this, if you have your questions, please feel free to post them in the comment section, and we'll be happy to take your questions. Questions? Okay. So the link to the news will also be posted. Yeah, the news is just misbehaving. It has a mind of its own. No. Okay, so as you can see, our news just decided to have a mind of its own, and it says it's, but it doesn't want to play. So that's very much okay. I mean, I've enjoyed myself. Everyone has enjoyed themselves, if I am not mistaken. So it's really been a very wonderful session. It's been so cool. We'll share the link to the news and you can listen for yourself. It's been so cool. We've heard from so many amazing women in the movement, advancing the gender diversity. And I'm still not going to forget what Natasha said. She mentioned that for us to actually get all of this to be out there, for us to keep being in the future, we have to be the ones to tell these stories ourselves. So she said that our future still depends on the stories that we build today. And that is really amazing. I'm going to put that everywhere to make sure that I don't forget it. So if you're looking for where to contribute, if you're looking for what to contribute to, if you're not hosting anything, you can edit, you can share with other women. It's going to be a wonderful match as long as you make it wonderful. So thank you so much, everyone. And we hope you look forward to the next episode of the WikiAfrica Hour. That will be episode 35. So you're going to be, you will still get the update once everything about that comes up. So thank you so much, everyone. It was nice seeing your comments in the chat. I love you all. We love you all.
Today's guest host was Tochi Precious Friday from Nigeria. Netha is today's newsreader. WikiAfrica Hour is a production of Wiki in Africa that supports the development of the Wikimedia movement across Africa. Tell us on social media which topics you want to discuss and join us next month